Welcome back. In the previous video we looked at positioning the baby at the breast. We looked at having the baby either in this position, we looked at maybe having the baby in this position, or we looked at laying on our sides with the baby alongside of us in that position. We also looked at, for formula feeding, holding the baby in the position as if you were breastfeeding, so you're in that good eye-to-eye contact. We remembered our acronym CHIN to help us when we were positioning our babies, thinking about keeping the baby close to us, keeping the head back, so not forcing the head round, having the babies in a nice straight line, keeping them close, but not forcing that head round, and having them so that they're nicely in line with us and with their nose to our nipple. So in that, keeping all that in our heads, that's having the baby in a nice position, ready for feeding. Now, we almost implied that you would make the assumption that you've got the baby in the position and off we go. And for some babies, that's the case. You get them into the position for feeding and they're interested and they start to feed straight away. For others, that isn't the case. For others, you get them ready for feeding, get them in the position ready to start to feed, and maybe they just sit there with their mouths tightly closed, not interested at all, yeah? And others perhaps go onto the breast, they open their mouths in a beautiful position, but they don't start to feed, they just sit there in the position, yeah? So for those babies, remember what we already discussed about how you can stimulate the baby to remind it to keep lapping, because babies don't suck, it's a lapping action they do. If a baby was in a great position, but just not feeding, you might stroke its cheek, you might tickle its toes, you might rub the palm of its hands, just to remind it, just to get it going. But if the baby wasn't even opening its mouth, then go back to something else we've already discussed. Go back to thinking about what we discussed earlier about hand expressing. So causing stimulating the breast to produce a little bit of colostrum that may be then just around the edge of that nipple there. So when the baby smells that thing, oh yeah, what's on offer, and maybe opens their mouths ready to feed. But even then, maybe perhaps they still might not want to do that, and they still might need a little bit of assistance. So if we look at this picture here again, what you can see is when the baby is going to feed in this picture, you can see that not only is we've already talked about the baby being a nice straight line, but you can see with this picture the baby is leading with the chin. So if we go back to the baby going onto the breast, we said a nice straight line, but kind of leading with the chin. So it's almost like the chin is like velcroed to the underneath part of the breast tissue there. So in a nice straight line and leading with the chin is the first thing that we want to think about in that picture. Also, can you see in this picture, and we spoke about this earlier when we talked about the colostrum harvesting, or the stimulating the breast to produce to get some colostrum. We talked about where that you didn't ever want to try to stimulate the breast on the nipple. It was behind. It was that light pigment just behind the dark pigment there. That sort of knobbly area where the breast tissue becomes lighter, which is where all those glands are that you're trying to stimulate. So if we go back to this picture, hopefully what you can see is that what this baby is doing is this baby's got its mouth open, and you can see where those little black dots are. That's hopefully where the baby is going to latch. Yeah, and so you can also see that from that picture that there's some of the dark pigment just above. The baby's actually taking all of the dark pigment into its breast tissue there, into its mouth below the nipple, but above it might not necessarily take all of that dark tissue into its mouth. You can also see that the nipple is just against the top of the lip, and that can be really a good thing as well, because say perhaps if you had hand expressed and there was a little bit of colostrum there, by just gently brushing that colostrum, that nipple over, against the upper lip there, what hopefully will happen, the baby will then open its mouth, yeah? And if I show you just this way, it's probably easier. So there I am holding my baby, got the baby held in that good position, yeah? And as I brush that, the nipple over the baby's mouth there, as the baby opens, as it brush it over its upper lip, as it opens its mouth, I can help with this hand here to guide that baby into that correct position, yeah? Because what you're aiming to do, if you look at this picture here, as we can see, you can see the arrows showing that contact, the position that we want the baby to go in. And why we want the baby to have as much of that dark pigment in its mouth as possible is because we've already mentioned that the glands that we're trying to stimulate to draw that milk down is back here, not here on the end of the nipple. But also, if you imagine this is the baby's mouth, so the upper lip and the lower lip and the upper lip there, and when the baby takes the breast tissue in its mouth, what you want to happen is you want, as I said, leading with the chin, you want all of that dark pigment from underneath to go in the baby's mouth, and maybe, if you can, the upper. But what you're hoping for is, what you want, as you can see, I hope you can see there, is that when the breast goes in the mouth, the nipple goes to the back of the roof of the mouth, yeah? Now this is important because when the nipple goes to the back of the roof of the mouth, it's round here that's being stimulated, not just the end. And also, at the back of the roof of the mouth is the soft palate. If the nipple is just inside of the baby's mouth, what happens is that if it's just the nipple just inside, then it's not stimulating the right part of the breast, but also the nipple will brush against the hard palate at the front, which can make you quite sore. If you're in any doubt if the baby's in the right position, what you can do is that you can slide your baby finger inside of the baby's mouth, which will release the suction, as we've already spoken about before, and then you can just have a little look to check the baby's in the right position. Because if the baby was in the correct position, the nipple, because there's plenty of space there, the nipple should be nice and round still. If when you release the suction you have a look, the nipple is quite pressed and quite flattened and compressed, that probably means that it was at the front of the mouth and so it was being pinched. Yeah, so getting the baby on in the good position is going to make you more comfortable, make it easier for you, but also enable the baby to draw off, to stimulate the breast, to produce that colostrum in the early days, leading on to being that milk, stimulating that production for the nutrition for your baby. So it's good, it's good to get them on correctly. Now, you can, as well as having a little look at the nipple and everything, you can have other clues if the baby is feeding well. Because if the baby is on and attached and feeding well, what you will see is swallowing, and you'll hear it. Yeah, you'll be able to hear the swallowing. It's a minute little amount. You'll hear that swallowing. What you'll also see is the temple will rise and fall. So you'll be able to see when they're swallowing. But what you shouldn't see, and it's hard for me to do this because I've got round cheeks, but what you shouldn't see is this. Because if you see the cheeks being sucked in, that's not good, because if the baby is on and latched and on correctly, what should happen is there should be a good seal. So the cheek should stay nice and full. So if you see the cheek sucking in, it's because the baby is taking in air. So again, it's not in a good position. So if you're in any doubt, you think the baby ever isn't in a good position, put your finger in the baby's mouth, release the suction and start again. Because once you begin to make any part of you sore, then it takes a time for it to feel better again. So get it right. So what I would say is, getting it right is, is good. It's going to make it a lot more comfortable for you. What I would say is that it's, I'm trying to explain it to you here now, with my little iPad. But actually, what you would really find useful is on a Family Assist, we have a link to a video, Global Health Media, Attaching Baby at the Breast. And it's a really good video. I often show it when I'm doing the Baby Matters workshops to the mums, because it kind of really shows what I'm trying to explain to you now, really sort of with real babies and with diagrams, but it's really cleverly done. It's a really nice video, and I think you'll find it quite useful to explain, you know, that sort of the practical side of things that I've just explained to you now. So I hope that you would find, you know, that also to be a useful tool. So, you know, the baby, we've got the baby on, and we've got the baby feeding now, and that baby's in a good position. And as I say, we've mentioned about all of this, how you can sort of be assured that the baby's in that right position. When they are feeding, when they are, you know, lapping, when they're doing that lapping action, you'll also, what you'll see is a series of quicker sucks and a series of longer drawing sucks. So that's all pretty normal. That's what you'd expect them to do, as you know, as they're drawing that milk off, getting from you what they need. But I hope I've explained that okay for you. And as I say, I would really advise looking at the Global Health Media video, because it kind of explains it probably a lot better than I would be able to do. So I think we'll stop that video just there, and I'll come back for one more video about feeding with you in just a few minutes. Okay, bye for now.